Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 22nd of November 2023, and these are the stories that we'll be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin, of course, as we most of the days do, with the latest as far as Israel and the conflict in Gaza is concerned. The leading news since late last night has been the truce that has been mediated through Qatar between Hamas and Israel. This is a 4-day truce, which means a cessation of hostilities by Israel towards the people in Gaza for a period of 4 days. Also, there is an exchange of prisoners between both the sides. In the beginning, Israel had agreed to 150 prisoners. Now it has doubled that, and the number of prisoners is now 300 in exchange for 50 captives of Hamas. Also, there is a lot of diplomatic effort that is being going on behind the scenes as well to kind of find a solution to this current conflict. But Israel, as far as the reports go, is hell-bent on not creating an extension to this truce, which might change in the next couple of days, or a ceasefire of any sort. In fact, Netanyahu is hell-bent against it. Also, in his whole so-called war cabinet, there have been 3 members who have even opposed this 4-day truce between the both sides. This is going to be part of our first segment on the conflict in Palestine. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, today concerns the repatriation of the illegally present foreigners, and in this case the Afghan nationals from Pakistan and from Iran. Both the countries have repatriated the illegally present Afghans from their respective countries because of certain issues, and of course, the first of all, that they are illegally present, and second of all, that there are certain concerns from both the countries as far as their presence, and that is concerned with the security related issues. This is going to be our second story. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Pakistan Stock Exchange that has gone to an all-time high. We have never seen these numbers that are coming since the last few days on the PSX index. Now, the 100 index crossed the psychological barrier of 58,000 and closed at 58,198.76 rather points, up 827.18 points. In fact, our fourth story today is going to be North Korea that says a spy satellite launch is successful. There had been previous attempts in May and in August, but those attempts failed. But this time, as per the North Korean news agency, this attempt has been successful. There have been warnings by both South Korea and Japan on this as well, and both the countries have shown a lot of apprehension regarding the launch of this satellite. Then we are going to finally talk about COVID-19. It hasn't ended, despite what you might think that COVID-19 is now part of history. It isn't. In fact, it is gaining kind of a comeback as far as the world is concerned. The World Health Organization says that the new COVID-19 variants still pose a threat. The SARS-CoV-2 is circulating in every country right now. This has been part of that statement by the World Health Organization. So we need to be extremely cognizant and careful as far as going into places where there are a lot of people are concerned. And of course, the mask and the other protocols that we have talked about so many times should be the norm of the day. Again, because of winters arising and the number of infections that are increasing related to influenza, but then you never know whether it is influenza or COVID unless you do the tests. Genocide is in fact happening in Gaza as we speak, although some good news has emanated in the form of this truce. And I will talk about different elements surrounding this truce and what could be happening in the next couple of days when the truce comes into effect, and how long it will stay, whether it be 4 days or beyond that. What's going to happen after these 4 days? We've been joined by Tughral, Yamin, a senior analyst and a senior think tank, I should say, all in one, who has joined us in the studio. Tughral Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Tughral Saab, let's talk about this truce. If you look at the different elements of the truce, whether the statements that have come from the Hamas side or the Israeli government side, there are similarities and there are then differences as well. What is this truce all about in your point of view?
Omar Saab, this truce is about getting the Israelis back, the Israelis who were made captive by the Hamas. 7th of October, the surprise attack, and after that, the Hamas went into occupied Palestine, shall I say that, and hauled up more than 290, around that figure, Israelis, which included women and children and old people, including soldiers. So Israelis are very sensitive about loss of human lives and physical loss as well as temporary loss, which in this case is a temporary loss. So these people have been abducted, if I'm permitted to call that, by Hamas. So the Israelis are desperate to get them back, and they have gone to all sorts of activity to get them back. They have attacked hospitals, they have incessantly bombarded the Hamas locations, which they had
they claim to be the Hamas locations.
Claim to be. But they have not been able to get hold of them. The attacks on the hospitals have been heart-wrenching. There has been no evidence that Hamas...
The only casualty has been the patients, the women, the children, the babies who have been left to die, in fact, if I'm not wrong.
The premature babies who have now been allowed to be evacuated to Egypt. So there has been no shred of evidence that Hamas leadership was hiding anywhere in the hospitals. So the Israelis have finally come to the conclusion that no matter how much bombardment they carry out, the captors will be hidden somewhere in the warren of tunnels that exist below.
And you know, in one of the interviews that I was watching, one of the Israeli leaders was saying that some of those tunnels were constructed by Israel itself.
Could be possible, could be possible. But they are so deep and they are so hardened against deep penetrating bombs that they are still intact. But I was reading that one of the soldiers, female soldiers, was killed, and the Hamas says that it was because of Israeli bombing. So whether they left her.
But you know, there are so many casualties of war, and in this case, genocide, let's put it that way.
It is genocide, there's no doubt about
the casualties include the Israeli casualties. There is a lot of, hearsay also on on those attacks on this little party that was going on in Israel, and that Israel was also behind some of the casualties that happened in that group of people who died and of course who were injured. And let's come to the truce and the agreements that have been agreed upon between both the sides. Hamas said what has been agreed with Israel includes I'd like to talk about a temporary pause agreed to both sides, which is going to last 4 days. Israel will stop military actions in all areas of the Gaza Strip, including the movement of military vehicles. Hundreds of humanitarian aid trucks, including medical and fuel supplies, will be allowed into Gaza. Drones in southern Gaza will stop for 4 days. They will stop in the north for 6 hours per day. Israel is committed not to attack or arrest anyone in all areas of the Gaza Strip during this time. Freedom of movement will be guaranteed along Salahuddin Road from the north of Gaza to the south, and of course it will release 50 women and children taken captive in exchange for the release of 150 Palestinian women and children held in Israeli jails. The Ministry of Justice, the Israeli Ministry of Justice, says it is going to release 300 people now, which is double of the figure that had been now previously given by the Israeli side. All these points, will Israel abide by these during the 4 days? Is there any institution or organization or a country that will oversee that Israel does in fact adhere to these points?
All of this would be in good faith. Israel has agreed to it, and I think they are going to wait until their hostages are released, those 50 hostages that have been agreed upon. So by all reasonings, I think they will not reopen or restart hostilities immediately. After 4 days, that's another point. But this will also give Hamas time to reorganize themselves. Hamas is a very resilient organization. They have been fighting these wars, these small wars. They've been firing rockets. This is not the first instance. In 2021, also after the attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, they resorted to indiscriminate firing of these primitive rockets, and Israelis responded in the same manner, indiscriminate aerial bombardment on the people besieged in Gaza. Gaza is now the new Foreign Secretary of Britain David Cameron has said it's the biggest open-air prison in the world. So it's an open-air prison, not a very big.
But it has been open-air prison for a very, very long time.
2005.
But it is only since the 7th of October that a lot of countries in the West or otherwise have realized that in fact this is the real situation, when the real situation has been present ever since decades, and nobody has been batting an eyelid.
2005, ever since Hamas became the rulers in Gaza. So this is very unfortunate, whatever is happening, and it's I think genocide is a small word to describe this human catastrophe which is taking place. People are being killed, children are being killed, children are being left to die, their parents have been killed. So whatever is happening is very, very painful, and the unfortunate part is that countries like South Africa are in the forefront demanding that this should end.
Because they have seen what happened to their own country in the past.
In the apartheid.
I'd like to refer to what Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rehman Al Thani says, because of course this is a truce that has been mediated by Qatar. He says he hopes the agreement to establish this 4-day truce in Gaza will lead to comprehensive peace talks. Do you feel peace talks could be on the horizon? Is this a possibility, a distant one?
Peace talks have been held in the past also. We are all aware about the Oslo Accords, in which the so-called two-state formula was agreed upon. Peace talks can be held, but who is going to be the honest broker? Who is going to be the party which both?
Joe Biden says it is important that all aspects of the deal be fully implemented. Will the US oversee that these points are adhered to?
I think they will keep on prodding the Israelis not to break the promises, although Israelis have been breaking promises
since time immemorial.
Since time immemorial. So
I mean, since 1948, if I have to be, go back in time.
Even when Moses was leading them, there were people who would not believe in him and who would renege on the promises that they had made to him and his brother Aaron or Harun. So,
well, in this day and age, let's see what happens. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas also has commended the efforts of Qatar and Egypt and calls for a comprehensive cessation of Israeli aggression against the Palestinian people. When you also see that the Palestinian side, the Israeli side has done it with a lot of apprehension, because in their war cabinet there have been 3 members who have openly opposed this, and one of them has been Ben Gvir, who has a long history of incitement against Palestinians, incitement to racism, destroying property, processing a terror organization, propaganda material, supporting a terror organization, and so on and so forth. And then they have the gall to call Hamas and other organizations. They have to look in their own house as well. What happens now as far as Israel is concerned post the day 4 of the truce? Once these 4 days of the truce end by early next week, what happens? Continued bombardment, continued killing of the children and women with renewed zeal and fervor?
Both parties will have to relook at their own strategies, particularly Israel, because Israel is bent on obliterating Hamas. I'm sure these 4 days would give them good time to rethink, revisit. They cannot obliterate Hamas. It's impossible. It's impossible. How can you kill 2 million people who are residing them? I don't know how many of them are Hamas or not Hamas, but you cannot kill 2 million people. So how many people did Hitler kill in the so-called Holocaust? 6 million? I don't know, but I don't think it's possible. So both parties will have to rethink, revisit. They will have to talk to each other. This cannot go on indefinitely. Perhaps the Qatari Sheikh
will it intervene again and maybe might change the future of this conflict as well. Who knows? We all know that there has been the mediation by the Arab countries as well, who have gone to China, who then went to Russia as well. Whether it be it had the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it had Egypt, it had the OIC Secretary General as well, and other leaders who were going together, to find some kind of a solution to respite to this conflict. The Chinese side also gave important points, and there was the BRICS summit as well, in which this issue was also highlighted, and there has been a renewed pledge to kind of find a solution. But when it comes to solution, is a solution easier than we think it is? Isn't this just, you stop the hostilities, you agree to the two-state solution, and that is where things go? But why is it so complicated?
It's not complicated. Israel is country which is very obdurate. It's a country which has a very big sense of entitlement. They think that they are God's chosen people, and they think that the entire Palestine belongs to them, and the greater Israel is a dream which is now coming true. But it cannot happen. It's all wishful thinking. You cannot just kill all people and think that you can rule on this small piece of land. It's not possible. Whatever harm was done in the Sykes-Picot conspiracy between France, England, in dividing an ailing Ottoman Empire into their own spheres of influence, it can be reversed. Even Mohammed bin Salman now says that peace would be the resumption of Palestine to 1967 boundaries. So that means that Jerusalem would no longer be occupied territory. So
all it needs is the will, is a collective will. All it needs is a push by the right countries that can influence Israel, and it doesn't take a genius, to see or to understand how this conflict could go in the right direction. All it needs is the right initiatives at the right time by the right people. I think that is how we see. Let's talk about the prisoners that are being held by Israel, by the Palestinians. As far as before pre-October 7, there were 5,200 Palestinians in Israeli prisons. Since then, the Israeli forces have arrested around 3,000 more Palestinians during the daily raids in the occupied West Bank and the occupied East Jerusalem. I have to say occupied. In fact, this is what it should not be. It should be just East Jerusalem and West Bank. At least 145 of them are children. According to Rights and Minority Group. 95 are women, 37 are journalists. Tughral, Yamin, will this exchange of prisoners might maybe give rise to more exchange of people, especially from the Palestinian side, seeing the number of prisoners that are held by Israel?
It's quite possible. 40 of those people who are being held by Hamas right now are dual nationals from 40 different countries. And there was, in the earlier part of this conflict, news that Hamza Yusuf, the First Minister of Scotland, had his in-laws trapped inside Gaza. So what were they doing there? I do not know. Whether his wife is a Palestinian, I'm not very aware of it. But they were there. So many of the Palestinians have more than one nationality, and many of the Israelis have more than one. So many countries are involved. There are 8 French people. So I'm sure these countries would now be pressing that, hey there, get our people out of this misery. So yes, there could be some more movement. BRICS is emerging as a major player in the headlines.
We've seen a statement that came from Xi Jinping as well. That was very important. The 3 points that he noted as far as this conflict is concerned. We all remember how China was instrumental in bringing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Iran back together after a hiatus. It also had given 14 points for the Ukraine crisis, for that crisis to end as well, conflict to end. Do you feel China could also play an important role as far as this conflict is concerned?
This is a godsend opportunity for China to increase its influence in Middle East, because we have seen that the United States of America is completely one-sided. They are just supporting Israel, and they are very...
with their eyes closed.
Absolutely, very wary of telling them anything which can prevent them for these wanton acts of self-defense. So yes, it is an opportunity for Israel, for China to increase its footprint in this area, and but BRICS as an economic bloc, I think they can have a lot of say.
Do you feel Israel can be pressurized economically?
It can be pressurized, but
through oil, through other factors.
Yeah,
we only maybe listen to when it concerns money and your resources.
Absolutely, there can be sanctions. You can stop buying arms from them. They are one of the biggest arms exporters of the world. It's a small country, but it exports arms to India, to Germany, to so many other countries. So you can tell them, okay, we are not going to buy your weapons. The Iron Dome air defense system has already suffered a dent in its reputation of being a system which can stop all incoming rockets. It was not able to do that. So, okay, yes, you're not invincible. We know that. So there are many things you can do.
That is, nobody's invincible, I feel, at the end of the day. But this said, let's talk about the Israeli objectives. One of the leading think tanks based in Singapore says that Israel is in no mood to end the conflict and this war at this point, and that it hasn't achieved its objectives yet. What are the objectives that Israel has in mind?
There's only one objective, Greater Israel. Gaza by itself is much smaller than West Bank, so it's easier to gobble up Gaza first and then go to West Bank. And in West Bank you do not have hardcore fighters like the Hamas. The administration, the Palestinian administration, actually gets its pay from Israel. So they will do it one step at a time. This is their ultimate objective.
Right.
They've been making new settlements. They have been able to convince the United States of America to shift its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Mr. Trump did it. So they just want this entire area to themselves. They want the
Palestinians out. In fact, what they want is that the Palestinians, all those that are presently in Gaza or even in the West Bank, be shifted to their neighboring countries, and they accept them as refugees, so that the area is open for them to install their citizens as and when and in whichever way they want. I would like to understand one thing. Humanitarian organizations, as per a report in Politico, which is a leading journal, says why they are continuing to be targets of strikes by Israel when, and this is a very important fact, when they have supplied their GPS coordinates to the Israeli forces. This means that the Israelis know who they are striking and how and when. And when it includes humanitarian organizations, how can they deny that they are not targeting these organizations when, as per this very important report, their GPS coordinates are with them?
They're not denying it. They're just not saying anything. They know it. You see, when you see from the sky above, all these places have the symbols of either Red Cross or Red Crescent. So they very clearly identify themselves as humanitarian organizations. Even the hospitals which have been attacked, their coordinates are known, and they have visible symbols which tell people that we are not harboring any criminals or terrorists or anything. We are tending to the sick and the wounded. So these Israelis know. When they attacked the first hospital, that was the Al-Ahli hospital, in which they claimed, no, this is erratic missile fired by the Hamas itself, which has fallen on to
again a lie.
Yeah, again a big lie. So they know it very much, and they are actually violating the international humanitarian law, which forbids the contestants, the parties to the conflict, from attacking hospitals, places of worship, historical places. There are so many things which are not.
There is something that is very interesting, and that concerns journalists, because of course,
and you are a journalist.
Yes, journalist is another aspect. One of the leading organizations talks about more than 53 journalists who have been killed by the Israelis so far, and the number is increasing. The Lebanese press editors syndicate's head also says that 3 Lebanese journalists have been killed near the border with Israel on Tuesday itself. And this is without them. The list is of more than 50, and this continues to increase. There is also a huge concern from the Israeli side that during this truce, we might have more journalists coming in, and A, they might be able to tell the world the truth of what is happening, and B, it will be not possible to control some of the media outlets. This concern, in your point of view, as far as the journalism is concerned, which is very ironic for one, can this be somehow curtailed? I mean, the killing of journalists, do you feel we will be seeing more murders of journalists in the future after this truce stands?
I hope not. War correspondents, unfortunately, although they are also wearing symbols identifying them as journalists, and they are wearing their flak jackets, etc. Also, press written on them, emblazoned on that. But we know that Israelis do not. They consider them fair target. We know about Shireen Abu Allah. What was her name?
Munaqle.
Sorry.
Of course, she the
She was
dual national.
she was an American and a Christian, but a Palestinian, and she was killed. And Israel kept on saying that we did not kill it, whereas the forensic evidence pointed out that she was indeed targeted by the Israelis. So I hope the journalists remain safe, because they're very brave people. They're very brave people. They are not combatants, and they're going into a conflict zone to report what is happening. And in many ways, they are the conscience of the world. If you report accurately and correctly, you're telling the world, this is what is happening to the people, this is what is happening to the children, this is what is happening to the women folk, this is what is happening to the old people. So journalists must not be targeted. This is
like children should not be targeted, like women should not be targeted, like the patients should not be targeted, like doctors should not be targeted. The report by the United Nations also highlights all the doctors that have been killed, the paramedic staff that has been killed in different raids on the hospitals. You know, this is something that needs to end. It is incessant, it is merciless, and it is inhumane. And we look forward, at least for these 4 days, that there will be a cessation of such activities. That is all we can hope and pray for. Thank you so very much, Tughral Yamin Sahab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this conflict that has, pulls to the heartstrings of so many because of the atrocities that are being committed with every passing hour and minute on Gazans. Let's hope these 4 days at least proves to be some kind of respite for the Gazans. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you very much.
Let's come to our second story, ladies and gentlemen, and our second story concerns the repatriation of the illegally present foreigners, in this case Afghans from Pakistan as well as from Iran. Now, there have been different points of views from both the countries as far as the reasons for that. Pakistan has its valid reasons as far as the repatriation of the illegally present foreigners is concerned. That includes Afghans, but today we're going to highlight the Afghan populace as far as this is concerned. But the fact remains that there is a huge issue as far as this is concerned, and Pakistan and the government is handling these issues very effectively. So is Iran, for that matter. If you just look at the numbers, more than 450,000 illegal Afghans have been deported from Iran to Afghanistan since August of 2023. And of course, this is also related as far as Iran is concerned because of the increasing wave of terrorism in the country, and Pakistan has had similar concerns due to which this move has also been initiated by Pakistan. We've been joined by Aniq Zafar, senior analyst in the studios. Aniq, thank you very much to have joined us. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Aniq, let's begin with this repatriation of the illegally present foreigners. In this case, let's resort ourselves to the Afghans from both Pakistan and Iran. How is this going to impact the security apparatus of both the countries?
Unfortunately, for the last 40 years, Pakistan, and more than 40 years now, Pakistan and Afghanistan's security situation has been quite sensitive, unstable, and incidentally also linked to each other. That is you can say the historical fact that we have to live with, that we cannot separate the security of each other from each other. Now, the question is that obviously Afghan refugees started coming to Pakistan somewhere in mid-70s. Even before the major Russian invasion, there were some turbulence in Afghanistan, and some of the Afghan population had started shifting to Pakistan well ahead of the Saur revolution. But after that, obviously, there was an increase. But people forget that this was an agreement between UNHCR and Pakistan, under which these people who came from Afghanistan were given a certain status, and that was a refugee status. They were given cards, registration, everything under that system. So now the question is that if Pakistan and Afghanistan both have to function as normal states, have to be responsible for their own securities, have to be responsible for their own population, in that circumstances, these people have to go back. And this will not be the first attempt to send these people back.
But Aniq, I'd like to interject, and I'd like to say what Pakistan is doing and what Iran is doing is the illegally present
Yes,
Afghanistan.
I'm coming to that point. But the initial process, when all this was under some system and process and all that has been compromised over the years, and there has been an illegal movement across the borders. Pakistan started establishing the border by fencing it. Pakistan started implementing some sort of mechanisms on two checkpoints on Tughral and Yamin. Proper security gates and all that were installed a few years back, just because Pakistan wanted it to be streamlined. Now, when both states have to function as normal states, if Afghanistan, the government in Afghanistan, I don't want to go into the debate whether it's a legitimate government or not, though the Prime Minister said that things will improve and there will be a legitimate government. I don't want to go into that debate, but at least Kabul won't disagree that they want to project themselves as a normal state. So if they are a normal state, they must understand that they are responsible for their own citizens. Pakistan is not responsible for Afghan citizens. Pakistan is responsible for the security, safety, economy
of its own citizens.
Of its own citizens. So this should be clearly laid out to everyone who wants to argue that this system which Pakistan wants to introduce, where visa and passport is necessary, that this should not be implemented. Why it should not be implemented? What is the argument here? Can we tomorrow say this about Balochistan and Iran? Can we tomorrow say this
you were
about...
talking of passports. Pakistan has now introduced a one-document regime on the international border with Afghanistan. So I think it's a very good step.
Yeah. That is what I am saying, that there has to be one document. There was a system of tazkira and all that. Why? Why should that be allowed anymore? So once the border is established, then there is an argument about families straddling across the borders, intermarriages, interlinkages, tribes, all that. Okay, fine. Once a system is established, border is established, then both states can sit together and decide how to facilitate these people. But it cannot be a free-for-all system. Without establishing a proper system first, only then you can negotiate a system in which you can facilitate the communities. Without establishing a system, facilitating the communities is not possible.
How important will be the role of Afghanistan now that the legally present Afghans are leaving both Iran and Pakistan? Because A, their role is important to rehabilitate them. B, they also need to ensure that what Pakistan has been highlighting time and again that Afghanistan stops the infiltration of the terror outfits from its soil into ours. And who knows, the way the different groups are reorganizing themselves, other countries are at risk as well.
Okay, so Kabul, again coming back to the point that Kabul has a government now, whether legitimate or not is not the question. What they need to learn is that they are no more a guerrilla fighting force. They are responsible for a country.
Of course.
So when you are responsible for a country, you are responsible for its citizens, you are responsible for providing services to these people who are coming in, you are responsible for rehabilitation of these people. After all, what is the purpose of establishing a government if you are not taking responsibility for rehabilitating your own people?
That is the responsibility of any government.
That is the responsibility of any government anywhere. I will be a harsh critic of Pakistan as well if Pakistan is not able to rehabilitate any population or community which is impacted by, say, floods, for God forbid by earthquake or anything. Rehabilitation of any community which is affected by war, by natural calamities is the responsibility of that state. Right? When we were going through an operation in Waziristan and Swat, we did advise people to leave the area, and after the clearing out operation, we did manage to rehabilitate all these people. We sent them back. We provided them all the financial support to restart their life. So it is now the responsibility of Afghan Taliban that they have to provide all kind of infrastructure, service delivery, economic opportunities to these people who are returning. Their rehabilitation remains their primary responsibility.
Exactly, and it should be the responsibility of the Afghan government, interim government, or whatever, you know, the administration in Afghanistan.
And I would like to stress here one more point, that some people argue that since security situation in Afghanistan is not stable yet, there are considerable sort of challenges, right? Pakistan has its own challenges. So and how long Pakistan should be waiting for Afghanistan to
and you know, when the fact
stabilize.
that these Afghan nationals, these illegally present Afghan nationals, have been behind some of the nefarious activities that have been going on in Pakistan, same as the case for Iran, and that is why both countries are
even if I for a moment accept the argument that okay, these 400,000 people or 250,000 people, whatever the number, or 1 million people are not directly responsible. But the question is that the people who cross illegally and go back illegally utilize the same system as these people use. So that system has to be shut down. 2, these people get safe havens on both sides of the border among these communities. So what is the fault of Pakistan here? Pakistan has to take steps to safeguard its own interests.
At the end of the day, that is what's primordial.
Yep.
You know, coming back to the numbers, you know, you were talking about the numbers. A total of from Pakistan 243,165 Afghan nationals who have been living illegally, and
yes, that has to be
have returned to their homeland, because you know a lot of people are misconstruing facts and saying no, they are making all people return. No, it's only those who are illegally present who do not have a legal status
in the end, under the UNHCR scheme, even those who are properly registered have to go back. One should be very clear about this. This is their being here for the last 20, 25 years, 30 years or 40 years does not give them an automatic right to be Pakistani citizens. As I am stressing again and again, that it is under an arrangement with the UNHCR which had a full understanding that UNHCR will be helping these people to go back. And this is not the first attempt to send these people back. There have been UNHCR supported initiatives in the past. People have been given financial support to go back and restart their lives. And during the 2000s, also many people did go back. If some of them did not want to go back, that again is not the concern of Pakistan. I mean,
that should be Afghanistan's concern to rehabilitate them, to take care of its citizens. The Iranian government decided to deport the Afghans for their involvement in terrorism in the country. They've also closed the border crossings with Afghanistan because of the entry of illegal migrants. And they also say that there has been a lot of involvement of these illegal Afghan nationals in their country with drug trafficking. How big a problem has that become also for the region?
Well, again, our romance with some of Pakistani, analyst class or intellectual class has had a romance with the Afghan Taliban, and there has always been a sort of a romantic notion that when they come into power, they curb poppy cultivation, they curb drug smuggling. No, they don't. There are.
In fact, it's a major source of income.
It's a major source of income. Protecting those roots, protecting those crops. The only concern they have when they come to a crackdown is to control the market mechanism, reduce the supply so that it is manageable and the crop prices does not drop so much. So and these are all documented facts. No one can challenge those. So again, if you do not control borders, if you do not check those routes that are being used for smuggling, for currency smuggling, for drug smuggling, the problem is going to be endemic. and tomorrow you will start getting international sanctions just because you are not able to control drug trafficking.
I agree with
you are
you on
not
that.
able to control arms smuggling. So no one is looking at the long-term disadvantage Pakistan will have if Pakistan does not start
Pakistan has
putting
been at a very strong disadvantage because of harboring millions of Afghans and legally and also illegally. I mean, you know, the number of Afghan nationals that who are present illegally far outnumber, you know, the amount that are present illegally.
I mean, for the illegals, I think there is not even a correct number available right now.
That is what I'm trying to say.
So again, coming back to the point that first wave has to be the illegals, then we can talk about the legals, how and what process will have to be. Obviously, there has to be a process. The process of repatriation can be better managed. Fine, I am ready to accept that argument. They need to be given proper support by Afghan government or UNHCR or some other international agencies, fine.
But you know, when it comes to Pakistan, I think the process that Pakistan has initiated as far as the repatriation is concerned has been smooth, and they, in their own words, are also dignified. That is, I think, very important, that whosoever leaves, Pakistan should leave in a dignified manner. And this is what has been, you know, the highlight of this repatriation. There have been transit camps that have been set up in different districts for their temporary accommodation. From there, they are moving to their respective countries, including in this case Afghanistan. At Chaman and Tughral borders, there have been, you know, camps that have been put up so that they can temporarily stay in there and there. How important are these measures from Pakistan as well? When we talk of repatriation, we talk about the root causes behind it, but the whole process of repatriation should also be smooth and dignified. Do you agree with me on Pakistan's stance on this repatriation process being a smooth and dignified one?
I think again, as I said, that when you are looking at measures that Pakistan has taken to facilitate this repatriation, to make it smooth, make it at least respectable, you will. Your opinion, mine opinion, or anyone's opinion, ABC's opinion can differ on that.
Of course.
But you will have to judge those measures on other on the other side of the border. Have they been really able to take care when they have arrived there? I have seen videos today where Afghans are complaining that they have not been received well on that side of the border. And also we will have to see what in the same region Iran is doing. I think we are faring much better than Afghanistan itself or Iran when it comes to facilitating these people, giving them enough time, giving them transit stations, and doing it in a very organized manner.
I think that was very important, so that, you know, tomorrow nobody can put a finger at Pakistan and say that the whole process of repatriation was maybe ill-organized or the people were not treated properly. I think all those rumors have been put to rest by Pakistan.
Definitely, as I've been saying, that complaints will be there because in such a large undertaking, there will be slips, there will be
but generally
mistakes.
speaking,
speaking, we haven't seen in today's world, when everyone has a mobile phone, there is social media and everything. We haven't seen any major incidents on the border crossings.
Agreed.
We haven't seen major complaints coming from those who have left Pakistan. So I think overall we are doing pretty well.
True, agreed. Let's hope that this process also continues in the same vein, and that all the illegally present Afghans also return to their respective countries, and in this case Afghanistan. Thank you very much, Aniq, Zafar, to have joined us, senior analyst, joining us, talking to us about the repatriation of the illegally present Afghans from Pakistan as well as from Iran. A significant number has gone to Afghanistan from Iran as well, and a number are increasing for those illegally present Afghan nationals who are also slowly and steadily entering their respective country as well. Let's come to our last three stories very quickly. The first is on the Pakistan Stock Index, and of course the barrier that it is crossing with every passing day, and you know, the numbers that we had never seen before in Pakistan's history are now becoming a reality. Now today the PSX reached a new milestone when it crossed the barrier of 58,000 for the first time during intraday trading, and at the end of the day it was 58,196 points, and that is brilliant. That is excellent for Pakistan's economy and shows a positive trend not only on the initiatives that the government has taken, and that is why we see a positive trend as far as Pakistan's stock exchange is concerned, and the confidence and the measures that have been taken, that ensures and instills confidence in the business community in Pakistan as well. So of course good things going for Pakistan, and I hope this trend continues because we are excited for one. Then North Korea. Not as exciting news, but nevertheless interesting and important news as well, has fired a spy satellite. It has caused panic in, of course, the South Korea and Japan. It's not panic, but of course a lot of apprehension in both these countries as well. North Korea fires what it claims is the military spy satellite. Japan did confirm that Pyongyang had warned it of this imminent launch as well. There were previous efforts that were made in May and August this year that were not fruitful, but now, as per the North Korean statement, this satellite has officially been launched. Japan has also confirmed the launch. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's office posted that North Korea has launched a suspected ballistic missile. Tokyo has also warned residents in the southern region of Okinawa to take shelter when, of course, the satellite had launched. Seoul has been saying for weeks that Pyongyang was in the final stage of preparation for another spy satellite launch, warning it would take necessary measures if it did go ahead. So tensions in the region because of the launch of this satellite by North Korea. Finally, COVID-19. We've talked many a times in the past few years, especially since the end of 2019 and onwards. Now, the World Health Organization says that the COVID-19 remains a threat as a virus variant has been spreading steadily across the globe. This has been said in the latest report by the World Health Organization. The virus SARS-CoV-2 is circulating in every country and still poses a threat. There are 3 variants of interest: XBB 1.5, 1.16 and EG5, and 6 variants of the COVID that are under monitoring that are a lower level of concern. Of the 6, BA 2.86 is being moved up to be a variant of interest. Of course, there are different variants, as we have talked many a times in the past as well. COVID mutates, and so the genetic formation of the COVID virus changes, and therefore there are the different variations of this virus. So we need to be careful. We need to follow the SOPs, the protocols. Whenever we are in crowded places, try not to be too close to people. Wear masks when you go to huge congregations, and of course wash your hands with soap as much as you can, and try to be careful when you see people around you. And of course, there's a lot of influenza going on as well, so don't confound influenza and COVID as well, but you never know who has COVID and who has influenza at the end of the day. So be wary as far as that is concerned. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories segments pertaining to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.